So, you're back. Interesting. So, welcome back to another segment of Shady Asian Investments. Now, today we're going to cover the very notorious and volatile market of Magic the Gathering singles. And in this video, I'm going to show you, actually share with you my own personal experience and what I found success in, failures, all that good stuff, and explain to you why it's not such a great market. But show you the pros and cons at the same time, and really show you it's a very self-motivated and very kind of like that scenario where the greater the risk, the greater the reward. It's essentially that, you know. And fortune favors the bold. And with the singles market, it's a very tricky market, and you definitely have to know what you're doing. I feel like being a player of Magic the Gathering, depending on what formats, the more formats you play, the better. But at the same time, being a player, you definitely see what cards are going to go up, what's going to be big, what's going to be that next big price jump. So in terms of like cards like Scorpion God, Search for Azcanta, the blue land from Ixalan. You have to have those subtle signs, and you have to have a keen eye for that. And when you look at a card and think, man, that card's going to be good, you definitely will have the opportunity to buy those cards at a cheaper, MSRP. But let's say you miss that opportunity, and I'm here to tell you what you do in that scenario. And if a card is out of your price range, it's a very grindy process, but at the same time, there is a method that I use that is very useful. And it involves a lot of your jank, rares, mythics, whatever, and a lot of the pricey cards in your trade binder that you're not using. A lot of people have the ability to scout out people that, purchase them at, discounted rates, obviously buy less prices, and you sell it to them, you sell them all your jank, you either get trade-ins, you get cards from them, or you get store credit. Now, with certain aspects of the technological revolution that the world's experiencing, the internet is definitely killing off a lot of LGSs, and a lot of them are starting to convert over to using a digital platform almost, and outsourcing their stores, jobs to like places like TCG Market to get buy lists or sell their cards for them. And when they offer stuff like buy lists, you definitely want to jump on the wagon, because a lot of those places will offer a bonus incentive for just not taking straight up cash or a check. And you definitely want to get on board with that, because usually the average is around 25 to 35% depending on where you look. I'm not going to list up the prices, because at that point, I don't want everyone to hose them completely. But when you do certain things like that, you never sell cards. In my experience, you never sell cards by a small amount. You always want to sell them as a bulk. The higher the amount, you multiply that by the percentage they're offering as a bonus for the trading credit. And when you do that, let's say you get $300, you multiply that by 25% extra store credit, you get essentially free money. And you use that free money to purchase, only if you need to, purchase the cards that you need for, let's say, an EDH deck, Legacy, all those stuff that you can't find the people who have the cards, your LGS doesn't have it, and it's a really easy method to do that. And at the same time, you can use that to convert your useless cards in your, the cards that you can either not sell, they're jank, or you can't find someone to trade or buy it off you. In that case, you sell at a discounted rate, and you make it up by the bulk selling to that company, getting making up for that in that, percentage-wise with the bonus store credit, and you essentially use that to reinvest in cards that you either need or you think will go up in price, rather than when they are actually offered at a certain price at that particular store you're trading into. And the other aspect is, if you want to invest in that method, you have some habits are hard to kill off, and you normally buy packs. And normally, when you buy packs, it's a crapshoot with the recent sets. Obviously, Hour of Devastation, and You get certain sets like Almond Cat. Almond Cat wasn't bad. Arrow was starting to like kind of like sink in, but certain sets like BFZ, Oath of the Gatewatch. Good God, all the rares just really. And you see certain cards like out of Eldritch Moon, Shadows of Innistrad. You see potential in there, and like Kaladesh, Kaladesh, Ether Revolt. You have a lot of good staples that are used in a variety of playing in different formats, and you really want to look for those cards, as I mentioned before in previous videos, longevity, and you have that ability to actually look into having the ability to sell off your jank and converting it into actual money. But at the same time, you have to remember that you'll be sitting on these cards, if not waiting, a couple months, if not, a couple years at the most for the cards to go up. And then you have to know when to sell them. When they reach a premium price where you are comfortable with selling them, you should sell them. But remember, buy in bulk, because when you buy in bulk and you sell in bulk, you get a higher percentage, you get a higher return, in better words. So essentially, if one guy bought $45 worth of Scarab Gods in the beginning, or $60, sorry, when they sold off for like $14, $15 pre-order, and essentially you're netting back your initial input, and you're plussing an additional $45 for every single copy, or the average is I think like $38, $40 for near mint, and you definitely net that. But at the same time, I want to warn you that it's a very grindy process. And if you're willing to endure that grind and really embrace it, long-term wise, you will slowly get the ball rolling, and you will start making money in a very slow-paced, whichever amount your budget allows for you to invest. But if you can get a large scale, I highly recommend that. Large scale, trading, buy lists, everything, your return will be a lot higher because you're buying them at such a discounted rate, because you're buying them in bulk, that you'll be able to sell them off for a premium price than your initial value that you put in, or investment, sorry, and then you really get the network. But at the same time, it takes a lot of your time and effort to do it. As I mentioned before, it's a self-motivated market, and you definitely want to be prepared for that. Don't expect a net initial return on your first week. If you do, congrats. But if you don't be disheartened, because it is a grindy process, and I'm slowly moving into that market too. I have a slow collection. Start off slow. Buy whatever you can afford. I'm not some jackass on the internet in a suit and sunglasses telling you, man, you gotta spend $1 million on what X amount of cards. And if you can't afford, that's probably an exaggeration. If you can afford 200, that's fine. 50, even better if you can afford that. But go at your own pace. Don't be like glamour, don't glamour have it like a hold of you when it comes to like looking at like your investments and then realizing you can't afford them, you can't pay it off, and then ends up you selling them off for another investor, and for like a lot less than you bought it for, and you lost money, time, effort, all that stuff, and then you're on your way to just being screwed. So with that in mind, you have to always realize what investment is good, how much you can afford, and really the method in which you buy it. Because if you can immediately flip certain cards, you want to open them, you want to see what you can get back, keep the good stuff, and sell off the expensive, lottery cards, big money grab cards that people want, and reinvest that in certain things that you do want. That's another thing. Or in other investments you want to sit on. Essentially give and take at that point. So, certain cards like lottery cards, if you sell them off, you want to sell that off to use the profit to buy, 4 Snapcaster Mages to sit on. That's good too. You have that experience, you have that, thrill of pulling an vacation, and you can immediately invest in something that will go up. So, it's a very grindy process. I can't say that enough. Grindy as fuck. But the singles market is a very lucrative place if you know how to like all the ins and outs, and you really have to know and pay attention to all the sets. You have to pay attention to Grand Prix, Pro Tour, all those stuff to see what cards are being used, why they're being used, what cards go great in combination with them once they rotate out, and then snatching them all up before you get that initial price jump. Look at the Brea deck. that initial pre-con commander deck from last year. You saw a bunch of cards. You know, I saw them a couple months ago, 6 months prior to the pre-orders, and I was like, that deck when it got spoiled, I was like, I need to buy all like Mint's. What was it? The artifact from Darksteel, like latest, like, you know, makes everything an artifact. I thought that card was gonna be amazing. I bought it for like $18 immediately, and then it jumped up to like, you know, $30-$40. You know, leveled out ever since then. But you see cards like, you know, Arkham Daxon, that spiked up. You see a lot of cards like you see a lot of the artifact based cards, you know, spike up more because of that. You know, the affinity artifact, affinity mechanic, all those cards spiked up because one pre-con deck, and we saw it with 2017 Commander. You see all the vampires that weren't included in those certain tribe decks go up in price. You see Bloodline Keeper go up from Innistrad. You see a bunch of other cards that from Dragons, fuck cats, and you see, you know, Wizards. You know, see certain cards that have also spiked up. So with that in mind, you know, the investment market is very lucrative in terms of singles, but you definitely have to be paying attention. It's definitely almost a daily, if not, you know, every other day you have to be looking in the market, seeing what's trending, what's not. It's very self-motivated. Self-motivated. Just get your ass out of bed and do something. So, I'm just kidding. Don't. You can just listen to me all day and just fucking rant about this stupid kind of shit. But remember, it's a very fun market. So keep my words in your mind, and really think about what can I do, and how much can I afford, and how I will buy and sell. Because, you know, do that, you'll be good to go, and enjoy the game.